What's happening, people? Gonna do the normal, get some people joining, and then we'll get Scott in. It is a fresh trim. It is a fresh trim. What's up, man? Chloe. I have got a beer, but obviously this ain't 18 plus, so I've got a. So if you ever see me go like this, as I'm having a sip of beer, and the football's on in the background. Get a few more people in, and we'll get Scott in. Been a busy weekend. See who's in. Everyone good? Everyone have a good Sunday? Or having a good Sunday? What's happening, Siobhan? DC's in the house. Wacky, Danny. All joining the party. Afternoon, Dave. What roast you cooking, Dave? I reckon you got gammon on. Tribal reptiles. He was on our last live. He got incredibly drunk. And I won't tell you what he done that night. Very disappointed, Daniel. Gecko Hunter. We're going to be answering some questions with we've got some pre-asked questions for Scott. Obviously we'll get a lot of questions in here we'll answer as well, but just keep you all informed. I have tried so hard to try and get the Instagram lives to have the comments. There's just for some reason it ain't working. LRVV, what's happening, Neil? Anyone needs a rack? I've had a lot of messages about racks. If anyone needs a rack, LRVV geckos and racks. Mine are just IKEA wardrobes, and I've just bought melamine board, cut it down, put more shelves in. That is literally all I do. But if you want like solid, my ones, you look at them, they'll fall over. If you want solid ones, give LRVV a shout. Magic, Mr. Fruit Geckos. You should name your page that, Magic. It should be Fruit Geckos. And James just scored for Chelsea. Fresh trim. Scott looks really handsome in person, by the way. You can't do that now, Scott, mate. You can't do that now. If anyone's got any questions for Scott, keep them in your head for later in this live to fire them to Scott. I mean, every time I speak to Scott, I learn something different. I also had a weird message after my last live about this. It's a scar. Don't ask who asked, but if you ever see me laugh, that's a scar. Don't know why people ask weird things like that. Right, we might as well get Scott in then. So we'll get you in, Scott. What I'm going to do is I'm going to request you to join, and you just literally hit join. Yeah, if you need to change your pants, you better do it now. But yeah, no, honestly, what Chloe said, it's just like me and you having a conversation with these Herberts watching. There he is.
All right, mate.
Can you hear me and everything all right?
Yeah. So you hear me?
I can hear you perfect, mate. So
awesome.
brummy, isn't he?
I'm not brummy. I ain't brummy. Yeah. Nearly brummy. I ain't brummy.
Same thing, unfortunately. It's like Chris, he's Scouse. But anyway, how you feeling after that drive?
You know what? It weren't too bad, to be fair, but just the traffic getting out of it. Once I was on the way, like, it weren't too bad.
Yeah, it's just that typical. I think it's still the school holidays. I think everyone's out. I think everyone's out with their kids. It seemed like everyone went shopping today. You know, we met up earlier. It seemed like everyone went shopping.
I couldn't move.
But yeah, now how you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm alright. Get a bit warm. Can you hear the fan? I've got a fan on in the background.
No, I can't hear it. Can you hear the football?
Nah, I'm alright.
George is wearing fake tan. Yeah, no, you wear fake tan. I caught him wearing fake tan. Anyway, it's good to have you on, Scott. Start it off. Tell us about how you started, mate, and yeah, how it all started. Did you fall into it? Did you?
I mean, like, I've always been into like animals and bits and bobs, and I suppose, I mean, I got my first 2 leopard geckos, which I think thinking back, I think that was my first reptile, to be fair. The 2 female leopard geckos. I had them from someone that my dad knew. I was already adults, already been together as well. Together in Little Viv. Thought, great, I have them. See, a lot's changed since then.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I kind of started watching like this on YouTube. So, you know, Brian at BHB used to be snake bites back then.
Yeah.
And that, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So we do things a little bit different over here to over there. But you know, I kind of thought, all right, I'll get a male. And I hadn't intended to put them together initially. I had a big tank, and I kind of divided it up. You know, I was learning what to do. I divided it up. In the end, I ended up calling the male Randy because he climbed over this wooden plank and got into the team. So you know, like, it went from there really, and then I started, you know, doing everything properly, and obviously you learn every day, don't you? And the knowledge you have back then, you know, you're taking it from everyone, and everyone's giving you little bits of information on what works for some people, doesn't work for other people. You know, husbandry's come miles and miles and miles since, like, you know, back when I had stuff. That's probably going back maybe 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago, something like that. And then since then, I've got leopard geckos coming out my ear holes. I've had, God, something's bouncing around. I've had, got bearded dragons, turtles, frogs, I've had viper geckos, morning geckos, I have corn snakes, boa constrictors, pythons, scorpions, stick insects, assassin bugs, ant colonies, obviously the grubs as well, which is still like a pet, I suppose, the grubs, but obviously predominantly I use those to feed to the animals.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other bits of this stuff as well, but basically, like, my whole kind of life's kind of revolved around animals, to the point now where I actually like manage a pet shop, which I'm lucky enough to work with tons of different reptiles there as well. So it's like all go constantly. Reptiles, come back home, reptiles, go back to work, reptiles.
How did you used to find, obviously I don't know how your shop was. Your shop might have been one of those shops that were really good at looking after what they had. But how did you find it, like, obviously being in front of all that, but being in front of being into a shop and then going home and doing your hobby almost? Did you find it difficult? Because of obviously in the shop you have to, like, for example, even the best shops, like for example there's a really good shop called Global Geckos, and they still have to keep some geckos with each other, like they have to cohab, because of, as a shop, as a business mind, it's impossible to have every vid with one animal in it. You just wouldn't earn any money. Yeah, and
you know, I mean,
you have to be a bit careful because obviously you work there.
I'll be honest with everything, and you know, like the pet shop itself, it's a really good chain. You know, and nowadays you're moving on toward more things and different things. So, you know, livestock being taken out of pet shops, and you know, that still leaves a place for us as breeders to step in and fill the voids. Granted, I can't speak for every pet shop, but the ones that I've worked in at least have been, you know, top notch. They get inspected. Obviously, AAL licensing and everything like that into place. Keep looking over there, sorry. But, you know, basically, it's like you're always going to have people that don't do things right, but it's a case of educating them.
Yeah.
Seeing even when I've gone in, I've improved things, and then you know other people have come in and improved things on top of me, which is fantastic. You know, and everyone learns off one another. I think I'm lucky enough really to work in places where you know animal welfare is at the top.
Yeah.
Customers and from about this and that and this and that. Cohabbing does happen in pet shops, does. But you know, for them to have the license, they have to be able to separate them up if needed, and at all times, really, it's very, very rare that they would ever be put into one another.
Yeah.
I don't know if you keep any of your babies together personally, but like you know, in breeders like myself and you, I don't know, but all my babies are kept separate. All my adults are kept separate as well, unless I'm still going to breed.
Yeah, because with shops as well, even if they are cohabbed and it's an exceptionally good shop, that you got people because I'm just going through what I see on Facebook. Oh, that pet shop keep all their animals together. Realistically, like I said a minute ago, they have to because it's a business, and also these animals are not there for long.
No, that's it.
I know it ain't an excuse. I know a lot of people are going to watch it, so that's not an excuse. But they're not there long. Do you know what I mean? But how do you like? You must when you're working. You must like because you breed and people come and they ask you like, what would be good for someone coming into your shop buying a leopard gecko? You could say like, oh no, you need this supplements. This is what I use. Is that what you do?
Yeah, and you know, it's I've got people that walk past or drive past shops even to come to me, which is quite nice. You know, and giving them experience because, like I say, you can get knowledge and information from everyone, but what works for people will work for other people, and you've got to kind of take bits and pieces out of everyone's kind of information they're giving you and do it your way that works. And fine, obviously, it's the right thing for the animals. You know, I mean, so you got customers that come in. You know, I mean, whenever I sell an animal, whether it be at work or whether it be from here, I'll always see the setup, 100%. I'll always ask them basic questions like, heat, you know, what to do them, tell me what you know, and then I'll fill in the gaps. Have everything set up, you know, so you can kind of pick who you know is going to be the right person for the animal. Because we're a pet shop or just because we're selling animals ourselves as breeders doesn't mean you have to go with that person. If they haven't got the knowledge that they need, unfortunately you're not having the animal.
Yeah, it's almost like human nature kicks in. You know, when sometimes you just get that bad feeling about something. Like sometimes you get someone that'll message you for a gecko and you just have that bad feeling, then you start asking questions and you get some of the responses you don't like. You can say, wouldn't say it directly to somebody, I'm not sending you a gecko. I'll say, I'll get back to you. Let's let the gecko grow a little bit more and whatnot. So yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't feel like you have to oblige by selling someone a gecko because at the end of the day, I know not everyone viewing this will think the same. Every animal I've got is a pet. So if anything goes wrong with one of my animals, they will be retired and kept as a pet.
Yeah, that's it. And it's about being responsible, isn't it, I suppose? But, you know, to be honest, whenever you give someone feedback, if they then go back and change what they're doing and come back with you and say, look what I've done now, fantastic. Yeah. Because guaranteed that will be a better owner than someone that set it up perfectly the first time because they've learnt and they're willing to take on criticism.
Yeah.
If they come back and say, I'm not changing nothing, well then, you know, I think
Absolutely. It's hard for anyone starting the hobby because of we've all been there, going for Google or even asking people for other breeders' advice. Everyone's got a different opinion, and sometimes you feel like you're lost. So it is good to have someone like you in a shop because of you. Like you said, you get reoccurring customers. Oh, we're gonna go to shop to speak to Scott because there's something not quite right, and you'd be like, oh, it's just, that gecko's just ovulating. That's why it's not eating. So yeah, no, that's good. And also every time I speak to Scott, he always tells me something new. Like I didn't know Scott gifted me some grubs today. I'll show you one. And I'm not an insect person. As soon as I saw these, I was like, right, these look soft. Scott's got some crazy things going on. I would never pick up a bug, but they just look like I can pick it up.
You know, and ultimately, if they breed and you get too many of them, use the grubs as food, and that's what I do. You know, it's kind of a little cycle. Because I started off, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the grubs themselves. I mean, I know you talk about Leos and that, but obviously live food comes into it. But the grubs themselves will start off. Get one out. Right, like that size.
Oh, damn.
And obviously they'll go up to different sizes from there. Basically, I mean, that's probably one which is just getting ready to be made. But obviously, you know, some geckos won't eat, unfortunately, and you've got to keep trying different things to get them to eat. And that's what got me alongside the silkworms as well. I mean, I don't know if you ever look at the silkworms. I did put some big ones in.
There's a big boy in there.
Yeah, I won't touch these because, unfortunately, whenever you touch these, they pretty much instantly die.
Yeah, so Scott, it might be a good idea you explaining more about the silk, because you know much more about me with silkies, and I know a lot of people don't really know about them. They're a little bit pricey. It'd be good for you to give some insight to some people about the silkworms.
So I suppose like the silkworms are like our equivalent to the American hornworms in the sense. Hornworms are illegal over here in the native species, but the silkworms aren't. So if you let them pupate up, you know, they'll spin a silk cocoon, they'll hatch out as a silk moth, and they'll complete the cycle like that and breed, make more eggs. But the silkworms themselves, they're softer than waxworms, which obviously are readily accepted, obviously, you know, with all the fat and everything that the waxworm would. They help with calcium absorption. So if you've got one which has got calcium deficiency, or you know, start onset of metabolic bone disease for whatever reason, silkworm should, in theory, be one of the best things to feed. It's going to help the body. It's also got like antibiotic properties in them. So it's kind of, I mean, the nutrition wise, it probably compares a little bit to like leopard geckos. Don't feed leopard geckos. Or usually compares to a little bit like the locusts in terms of like protein levels and stuff like that. But they're really, really, really soft. So if you've got geckos which are a bit fussy, some of those it should really, you know, I'd be surprised if they didn't take them.
Yeah. Also, me and Scott had a conversation earlier, so I did try and breed silkworms, but they have no immune system. So if you touch a silkworm, you either try and feed it. If nothing feeds it, you're better off throwing it away, because if you put it back into your container of everything else, it will contaminate everything. And like we were saying earlier, they like spew up this white stuff. It's crazy. There are a lot more harder feeder to have and obviously keep alive and everything, but the benefits from them, in my opinion, I haven't used them enough. Scott's given me some. I'm going to see some feeding responses with them, but maybe it'll be something to order like 50 large ones and treat all your adults a one-off here and there, even though they're great. But yeah, they're expensive, and someone like me, I'd end up touching them all.
Yeah, you know, if you can do it well. I mean, I've bred them in the past, but now I get mine from silkworm store. And you know, it's constantly just being clean with them, so using clean tweezers, cleaning them tweezers after you've touched one. Like you said, I've got no immune system. I mean, they're bred initially for like the silk trade, so they've been inbred, and they haven't had anything. So perfect feeders, but not very good at saying a lot themselves.
Yeah. Reco put a comment earlier. I don't know whether you speak to Ryan at Reptiles. He said, show us that sexy Mack Snow. I think it was sexy. He said sexy Mack Snow. Should show off that crazy nice Mack Snow magic.
Which one?
Which one?
If you're referring to like the baby that I've got, was the Bell Albino Mack Snow male's just going into shed, unfortunately. Of course it is.
Of course, yeah.
One. But with the Mack Snows, and that was one of the first things that I had after. I think one of my the two first females I had were normals, followed by a high yellow male, Then that was followed by the Mack Snow, another Mack Snow female, which I've still got actually. And that kind of got me into like the Mack Snows. But I'm kind of trying to breed now for white more so than anything. So that's one of the babies. You can see it's not really got any.
High white.
With very little yellow on it, which is what I want to kind of try and breed for. But it's also potentially het lizard, hence why it's so spotty.
Stunning, mate, stunning. I've seen some of your snows on your Instagram. Class. Because a lot of Mack Snows, they end up looking like normals, don't they? So just your normal Mack Snow sometimes. So when you get good quality like that, it does show through.
I mean, this was my original Mack Snow Eclipse male het albino. Not het albino, sorry, het lizard. So you can see that himself. He hasn't really got much yellowing on him either, so it's quite a good starting point to go from.
Stunning, mate, stunning. And will people viewing? Will you have any of that baby from that pairing, or any babies going to be available soon?
I'll be honest. A lot of my babies, I've been quite lucky. A lot of the babies have sold.
Yeah.
I started off quite early in the season, so I mean, really, I was like nearly fully paired by like the end of Jan. I started in December, so my season started really, really, really early. The only thing I started later on with was the tangs.
Yeah. Show us some tangs.
That's what I started later on with. So at the moment, that's what I've got most of. If that Mack Snow baby that I showed turns out to be a male, then I'm probably not going to end up keeping it, to be honest, because I want a female. I've got quite a lot of males with that kind of bloodline. I've got Mack Snow albino male, which I keep changing my mind on whether or not to keep it or not. But that's the one that's just going into shed. But that's from the same male that's producing like the high white ones.
Stunning, man. Just have to go ahead.
I know. Yeah, in terms of like the tangs, I mean, what do you want to see?
So what? Because I don't know much about. I know you work with snows. I know you got PurpleHeads. I don't know what lines of tangs do you work with. Like, do you, for example, I have Red Diamonds, I have Inferno, I have Green Line, I have G&T. Yeah, what tank stuff are you working with? I would love to see the PurpleHead or the crosses, aren't they? PurpleHead crosses.
So it's a PurpleHead blood, which is the main female on that line. I've got geckos all wrong, I think. Yeah, so it's a PurpleHead blood, which is the main from that. She's just getting the colour back. I don't know if you looked at the post or whatnot, but she lost a little bit of weight and colour over the season.
Yeah.
Season and she done quite well, but it's not going to show the proper colour on that, is it? That's the main thing.
At that one spot as well. Nice, man.
She's nice, but that one there compared to the Afghan male, which I presume has got something in it further down the line. They're quite orange for Afghans. That produces, and this is the one that I was posting the hell out of for quite a long time until I stopped last week. But that's well, that popped out, which is gorgeous. That there has just turned 2 months old, man. It's massive. It's a big girl. Like to say that, I mean, the colours like.
You must be so happy with that.
Yeah. There's a couple of the same kind of way. I'm not developing as fast as her by any means, but they're doing all right. They're doing all right. I mean, that's the male.
Oh, nice, stunning, man.
Between. Yeah. But I think I've got 4 of those, which I'm probably going to release It depends on how well the colours do. You know, when you're breeding tangs or any line bred trait, really, when you're pairing two of them up together, you're always going to have 25% that come out better, really. 50% come out the same, 25% that come out looking like normals.
That comes back down. We've got a question here from Bradley Perry. I was supposed to answer it on the last live, but I had a few too many beers. What age would you say is the best to see a baby's full potential, like whether to hold it back? I say between that 20 and 30 gram mark. More pushing towards the 30 gram mark, because that way you can see the full potential. To me personally, after 30, 40 grams, they don't really improve that much, or maybe even darken it down, in my opinion. What's your take on that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, there's a male here that was quite bright as a baby, and it was only like the last, probably the start of the shoot started darkening down, and by then it was coming up to a year old. So that can always change, but really by about the 30 gram mark, all the tangs will probably be here till between 20 to 30 grams, just so I can see what to hold back. But I think I've got my eye on 2. But yeah, I mean, like, it differs. It's genetics, isn't it? So you could have one which pops straight away, and you think that's going to be great, and then by the time it gets to 30 grams, it looks nothing like.
Or it could spin it. Or it could be a not average-looking gecko. It's like with a lot of albinos, they just come out banded. Give them 20, 30 grand, and then the patterning starts blushing through. So yeah, 100%. Kyrie said, "What? I suppose this is what we mentioned earlier. Other than leopard geckos, is there any other mammals? I know obviously you do the beetles and assuming you breed other insects or other feeders. Is there any other animals you work with other than leopard geckos right now?"
Yeah, so actually from the shop that I started in 2 years ago, when I moved over to that shop, there was a pair of pied mossy frogs. I'm called bird poo frogs as well, but pied mossy frogs.
Oh yeah, my sister had some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I was peeking through the enclosures and looking around and thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. These look alright. Looked down, there's a little tadpole going around in the bottom. I was like, okay. So I come back and I've got a tank set up, whatever, a big bio tank. Put them in, got them started. I got some fresh blood, and I've got about 30 of them now. At the college and that, so I'm going to give some to the college. They actually gave me some of them fruit beetles as well, so it's not a relationship. But the pied mossy
videos and the frogs.
Yeah, in terms of breeding wise, yeah. I've done a lot of praying mantises and stuff in the past as well, but it takes so much time. Probably costs more to feed the praying mantises than it does the leopard geckos. With how many hatch out, like you have 300-400 out of one egg, it's insane.
Yeah, and you got to buy the tiny like fruit flies. And Mr. G Breeder said, "What college? If you're happy to share."
Yeah, that's Halzo College. Really, really good college, to be fair. Really good for animal care. That's where I went initially. Years gone by. That's where I went. They've got a really, really good like reptile section now, and amphibian section. Just setting up a brand new kind of room for them. Hence why they're having some of them frogs as well. The frogs are great, but if you hear it through this live, I do like to make a bit of noise.
Yeah. My sister used to keep a ton of. She used to keep a ton of frogs. She used to keep Pac-Men, white trees, the bird poo frogs. What else did she had? I think she even had a tomato frog. And my parents used to always say they could just hear croaking from her room 24/7. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. If you can hear them, they are noisy frogs.
I mean, actually, I recorded them at one point, and I stopped breeding. It's quite hard to get them to breed because they need lower temperatures. And I recorded them, and I started playing it, and they started calling back, and after that, I started breeding again. So it kind of clicked them into breeding, which is pretty cool.
What people don't realise is our feeders are our pets as well. Like with my crickets, I take them out and put them in a setup and bug gel, grub, and I change that every couple of days. Like they work out as pretty much a pet themselves. What other Leo morphs do you want to work with that you don't have already? That's a good question, actually. I think for me, And I know this will probably shock some people watching this because I've probably said something bad about it before, but a cipher is really interesting me at the moment. I think it is John at Gecko Bow, ain't it? Yeah, John at Gecko Bow, he posted a Tremper one. I believe it was a Tremper one. And ever since then, I'm like, oh, I like the look of that. What about you, Scott?
See, a lot of my tangs at the moment are quite bright, and I want to try and darken that down a little bit. So it's going to have to be like the Black Knights and that. They go into that eventually, probably next year, hopefully. You know, and other things.
Yeah. I think it was Bell Cipher, Chloe. I remember it being an albino of some kind. But yeah, it must have been that. It was like a pink animal with a stripe. It was crazy. High contrast geckos. Have you seen the pixel stuff in Germany? Yeah, I love it. I actually messaged Mo because I was just being a breeder and loving genetics. I was just thinking, how's he managed to keep that spotting like going down? So I just said to him, is there any like het MP or blizzard like at all? Because most of you know that het, blizzards, or MP produce a spotty animal. And he just said, no, not involved at all. So, yeah, I have seen it. I think it's going to be a good thing. Have you seen the pixel stuff, Scott?
No, I haven't. To be fair, I'm going to have to have a look at that after this.
I'll have to send you some pictures.
Yeah.
It's literally like it's literally like it looks like a het MP almost, like the black spotting. Quite nice actually, and I think it's gonna be a big thing. What is your project you are most looking forward to working with? Like, what in your collection are you like most proud about? What excites you the most of what you've got?
I'll tell you what. I've got a couple months back. I picked up some universe stuff and universe and galaxies off of Chris at CF. And they're gorgeous, man. They're really, really nice. I've got gecko shot. But yeah, they're really, really nice. So I'm looking forward to that stuff, and obviously that's white and yellow as well. So that's a different topic. But
your gecko collection must have doubled since you've been talking to everybody.
My bank balance is divided. I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, that's one from. Never gonna be able to get this. You do it so well compared to me holding them upright, but you know that's one of Chris's. Universe. So I'll be doing that. What I'm most excited about, it's hard because they're all different projects for different reasons, and it's hard to pick out one. But I am looking forward to doing more with the tangs. But saying that, I do like the snows, and that's kind of what's been bred into me, I suppose. So. I don't know, mate. Maybe further down the line, I'll try and one way to combine them all to make like the creamsicles and stuff like that. But I don't know.
So you don't know. It's too many to choose from. Too many to choose from. I've got another question. This could be people watching this could probably put an answer into this as well because everyone's opinion is different and whatnot. Another question from Bradley Perry is, with homemade incubators, what is the best thermostat? Like, what thermostat would you suggest? I would say a Pulse Haberstat, me personally. Anyone else's opinion, put it in the comments. What about you, Scott? Do you use homemade incubators? You might not use homemade incubators. Yeah. No, I do. Of course I do.
Yeah, I'll just sit on the eggs and just incubating that way to myself.
Like a penguin.
I use polyboxes. I've read a lot about the Pulse, and it looks great. But I've always used the Pimming, and you know, up until the end of this year when we had like that extreme heat, I've never had an issue with it. So I was a bit hesitant to try and change that method a little bit because if it's not broken, don't try and fix it in that sense.
Absolutely.
You know, the last thing I'd want to do is swap it over, put a Pulse on it, and then something mess up, and I think it's that. And
yeah, if it's not broken, then don't try and fix it.
Yeah.
Where do you guys see, where do me and you see ourselves in 10 years in the hobby? I mean, I think this was asked on the last live. I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years.
I asked you this difficult question on yours and Chloe's, and I said 5 years.
Yeah. Well, 10. Where do you see in 10? For me, I'd like to maybe think that in 10 years, if I was able to do this as an everyday, that would be a win in my eyes. As in what I'm doing, I just want to strengthen what I've got, make my tangerines more orange, make my super giants bigger. Yeah, what about you, Scott?
I think I'd still like to have some of the original lines that I've got now, but things are always changing, things are always coming out. So I do really, really, really want to go down like the Black Knight Tangs, because I think they're cool, and I've seen people working with them. So that would be that for me. But I also like the Doyorites, which are like the really, really spotty ones. Some of them are het lizards, some of them are no patternless, but like the super snows. I've got a couple of those now, and I really like those. Not for everyone, but I'd want to probably do more with that as well further down the line. But like you say, it's the dream, isn't it, to have your own thing and be sufficient from that. But when do you make that decision? I suppose it's when you start losing out on sales because you've got your job, and you end up losing money.
I think it's a risk as well. I think it takes, I'd say, like, I've only been breeding since I'd say 2016, really properly 2017. I'd say I'd probably think about it. It's a big leap. It's a big leap to go from stable, because with Leos, how I see it is it's seasonal money sort of thing. Like your leopard geckos will breed through. You know what I'm trying to say. With work and you got money coming in all the time. With leopard geckos, you might have a month where people decide they're not buying any leopard geckos, so it is a risk. Yeah. But I think it comes down to reputation and wholesale. Having like your wholesale accounts, not wholesale accounts, but you know what I mean. Having like people you can sell to pet shops and stuff like that. But I'd love to think in 10 years' time, this is all I'll do, because this is the only thing that goes through my head. So it's a hard question, that. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I don't know. If I weren't doing leopard geckos, I don't even know what I'll be doing in 10 years.
Even if I was doing what I'm doing, yeah. Yeah, I think even if I was doing what I'm doing now, I'd still be happy. And ultimately, if I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing it. So.
This is a good question, actually, because if you've helped myself out and you've helped Jay out. How do I get my social media like your level?
A lot of it comes down to algorithm and luck. You know, even I'll still post things and you know, you'll soar, and then the next day you'll post something and you've got like 3 likes in like the first 10 minutes, and you know then that's going to be a bad post. Ultimately, it's about forming a base on the algorithm, I suppose. So using a few select keywords that you constantly use, and then changing the rest of the words. What will happen is if you keep using the same hashtags over and over and over and over again, you'll get shadow banned, you know, or thinking spamming. If you mix it up slightly every so often, changing the hashtags over, you'll increase your reach. But the hashtags itself isn't the only way to reach the audience. It's the explore page, and by having the explore page, you know, you need to be posting good quality HD pictures, really, that are catching the eye. You need to have that base of people that come back and like your page. You need to be active on there and regular, commenting on people's posts, commenting on people's comments when they've commented on yours, and just being people's eye. Just be really, really, really engaging. So, like, you can see on my stories lately, I've been doing little things that are making people hold it down a little bit, spend that little bit longer on the story, trying to find things in the pictures, going backwards. The moment someone press backwards to look at it again, it triggers the algorithm to think, okay, this is something worth watching, and pushes it up a little bit. But you're always going to have good posts, you're always going to have bad posts. But if you compare my page to someone else with the similar followers, some people are going to be sky high on the likes, and some people are going to be right down like to 40, 50 likes. It comes down to luck as well.
Yeah. What I noticed as well is ever since I started doing a bit more interactions on my story, like similar to what you do, Scott, like one or two. What one do you like, one or two? And it gives someone, you know what I mean, people to interact with you sort of thing. And I feel like ever since doing that and posting more on my stories and spending a bit more time posting my stories, it seems to have helped with that as well. And I think I've done 2 reels. Because I remember you saying at the moment Instagram are like almost in competition with TikTok. Yeah. So reels are getting like exposed a bit more. And I had one with a cresty hatching, and I think that reached 6,000 people or something silly like that. So yeah, little things like that can definitely help. And having friends, having people like every time I'll post a photo, I'll get like Wade, Chloe, or a few other people. They'll share it on their story, and vice versa. Little things like that make all the difference.
I think saving as well. Saving the monthly thing on it. If you can get people to save the post, that'll cause a bigger reach than people liking it. Really? And in terms of it likes to come alongside with it, but kind of how it's staggered, I'd say it would be like saving, because if it's something worth saving, it's something worth looking at, and that'll push it onto other people. You know, then like the comments, because obviously if it's people are commenting, people are going to be reading it, they're going to be spending more time on Instagram, and that's what it wants. Then followed by everything else. Really, you know, if someone's liking a picture, it's great. But that's not telling Instagram that you're going to be on there for longer. All it's saying is you like a picture. It's not going to say you're going to go back to the picture. It's not going to say that you're really, really involved in that picture. You're not doing nothing with it. All you're doing is liking it and then scrolling past, liking it and scrolling past. Yeah. There's nothing in that. So if you can do something which is going to grab the attention and cause them to kind of interact with you a little bit more, you'll have a bigger spike, I think, like likes or followers or whatever you're after.
Good quality photos help as well. I mean, if you get like, you haven't even necessarily got to have a camera. If you've got like a good setup, like for example, Chloe, I don't know how you take your photos, Scott. Is yours off of a mobile?
Half and half, I think, really. Yeah. Half and half.
So good quality pictures, whether it's phone, camera, they do. Like, I mean, if you've got a photo of your gecko in your hand and you tuck it into a bacon sandwich and a bottle of ketchup Heinz is behind you, it's not really going to get that many likes, but good quality photos help as well. And they also help with, not that it matters, it also helps with moving your geckos on. Even like if you get a really good camera, or even like Siobhan's phone, her phone's ridiculously good at taking pictures. It can make just even a normal gecko look special. So invest in something good and getting good photos for sure. What is your inspiration in the hobby, and how did you fall into it? Because this comes down to what I was saying to you earlier. It's like 6 months ago, you've been around for a while, and we had that conversation earlier, and Scott said, I didn't realise the hobby was like how it was. Like I didn't realise everyone was talking to each other, and there's trades, and especially with Cresties, you see people, they'll be like, "Oh, borrow my mail," and what they're called, collab. Let's do a collab. So yeah, what's your take on that?
I think what got me into it, I don't know, I suppose I was young. And when you're young, you want to try loads of different things. I thought it was cool. Yeah. So probably that, and obviously watching like the YouTubers and stuff back in the day, and thinking that looks pretty cool. I want some of that as well. What's really kept me in it, I suppose, is I just enjoy it, plain and simple. You know,
but what's took you so long to come out of your shell?
Mate, honestly, I mean, if you speak to Wade, like he'll tell you, Wade over at JW. I didn't speak to anyone. The only time I ever spoke to anyone was if I wanted a gecko. If that wasn't in the case, I didn't speak to no one, unless I was selling them to customers, selling them to this and that. I'd never sold to any other breeders, anything like that really. It was just all like local. And then Wade popped up and started talking to me. I was like, all right. Obviously he told me to start talking to other people as well, which I did. And it's great. You know, it's like, I feel like I'm in a different hobby now to where I was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's almost like you encourage each other as well. Like, especially in the WhatsApp group chat we got going on, you see all the hatchlings, and you're like almost egging each other on. You're making each other feel good about what you're doing. Like when I get a hatchling, I feel, oh, I can't wait to show it. It's a stripe. I know Chris is seeing them love stripes, or Chloe will love this. I can't wait to post and see what she says.
Yeah. That's it. And I suppose in a way as well, that becomes part of the hobby. Because at the moment, like, well, beforehand, it was just like the geckos, that was the hobby. You know, weren't really breeding for any projects, weren't really doing this, weren't really doing that. Whereas now I know what I want, where I want to be, who to talk to, who not, you know, stuff like that. I lost my train of thought. But
Yeah, you got lucky. You're here now. That's what matters. You're here. You're here with us. You got the best bunch of people around you.
That's it. That becomes part of the hobby then, doesn't it? Because instead of it just being the geckos, it becomes like the social media aspect of it, becomes the social structure of it, and that's kind of making up a lot of the hobby as well. I mean, it makes up half of it for me now.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm addicted to it. Talking to everybody, posting on stories. I've got really, and it's probably bad. Just got addicted to geckos so badly.
We said earlier, didn't we? Look, you know, we'll be on conversations with missus and whatnot, and we'll be on our phones constantly, and it takes up a lot of time.
Literally, Anne will be sitting next to me and she goes, "Oh, hi. Are you going to give me a cuddle today? You've just walked in and sat down and I'm straight on your phone." I go, 1 minute. I just got to message Scott. But it's because I love doing it, and it's yeah, like what just Wade just said. It is a real addiction. Scott, I don't know whether it's the one you just showed. There was a hatchling. I think it was a hatchling, and it was a young gecko you posted, and it was showing a high amount of yellow, not yellow, purple. Is that also from a PurpleHead?
When was that one from?
I think it was on your page. I think it was yesterday. You might have posted it.
Okay, so that that one's from the Afghans. That is
because Magic in the chat. Not you, Scott. Because this is where Am gets curious. She goes, "Is Scott Magic?" I go, "Scott is MagicMorphs, and Magic is Magic." But Magic loves Afghans.
But that's what come out. And honestly, up until was it last night or the night before, it was dark. Didn't shed. Changed it into a bigger enclosure or whatnot, and it literally overnight. I can't get it, but overnight like that. But that tail's what does it for me. And beneath, I mean, you're probably not going to be able to see underneath that, but like that
orange.
Up to that, like
ombre,
dark,
yeah.
But it's gorgeous.
My big words, ombre.
But you know, it's a really nice gecko. So I'll be keeping it. Unfortunately, though, it's not being picked up properly on the colours because these yellows, oranges, that's like a dark orange, but you can't really see it on the camera, which is a shame.
Have you got any more from that pairing?
You know what? That one is the only one that hatched. You know, and I think she had. I think she laid 6 eggs, and I think there were about 3 of them were fertile. Lost 2, and that was the only one. Luckily, I bred for females though, so hopefully, if that one's a female, she'll be staying. And that'll be the collection then going forward for next year. I'll try that female again. It was a first year, so you know maybe next year will be different. But if not, obviously that one's there as a backup then, providing that she doesn't follow suit and just make one good egg.
Yeah. I don't know whether you've noticed. I don't know whether Magic could probably help, or anyone watching this who's had to Afghans. Do you find they're a little bit smaller than other morphs, other combos? I just find they're a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, my ones are orange. Like I'm looking at other people's Afghans, and they're more like a yellowy kind of colour, more so than anything. From what I've seen, you know, whether or not that's the saturation not showing up properly on the pictures or whatnot. But I'd say that further down the line in the past, that these were probably outcrossed at some point. Because there were a lot more orange. Now, whether or not that's affected the size, I don't know. But like that one there, that male, like he's not massive by any means. I think it's about 78 grams. But you can see the size of his head. You know, he's not a small gecko.
Yeah.
Small gecko. So I mean, I haven't seen that, and even the female. I think the female Afghans watched yet. I think she's at about 60. She's at 67 grams. And that's after the season. So, to be fair, the only female that's really lost weight this season is the purple-head blood, which I really didn't want to happen because I wanted her to be fit and healthy, nice and chunky going forward. But she's putting it back on now.
Yeah, what Wade just said, I always thought, isn't that just the morph? I'm not too good with the science behind all these things. I just thought it was the Afghan morph, then opposed to an Afghan species crossing or whatever. I don't know whether you know about it, Scott. I think Magic's got loads of Afghans. He loves them. I just thought it was just the morph. It was just that's what the morph was called. I didn't think it was anything.
Yeah, that's it. You know, there's nothing stopping you from putting that into something else. But it's just the morph.
Yeah, I thought that too. But yeah, always got to make sure I'm learning every day. I'm learning every day. So was that the only baby you had from the Afghan, or was it just from that pairing, just the one?
The only baby from the Afghan pairing, so the Afghan to Afghan, the Afghan tang to the purple-head blood are the ones that are popping out. The ones that I showed you. So the male sound is made like proper good babies. Just that one female, unfortunately. But we had a weird summer, like I said. You know, the incubator was the first time it's messed up a little bit for me. So I could put it down to that. I could put it down to other factors. First female, you know, could be anything.
Yeah, man. So I know you love your Macks, and I know you love your Afghans. What other stuff are you working with?
I've got Diablos.
Yeah.
So I've got a trio of Diablos. I keep looking at there because that's where all the geckos are. I've still got some of the old ones which I had from pets. I've still got my original male, which I had all those years back, the high yellow. I've still got the original Mack Snow. I went on to Sunglows as well. Like that was the first other morph I went into after like the Mack Snows and stuff. I went on to the Sunglows. I was lucky enough to get the first Sunglow back that I made, so I've got those. But really, it's going to be Sunglows, obviously the normal Afghans, purple-head bloods, Super Snows, Mack Snows, Diablos, and then obviously the Sunglows. I mean, it's quite a big boy as well. There's the first one that I made. So, but
it's things like that is what makes this fun as well. Like you look at him, I made that so many years ago. Look at him now.
Yeah, mate, I was chuffed when it come back to me. I was. But he's a big boy, and the parents aren't that big at all. Like they're tiny in comparison to him.
Yeah. That was in Perfect Gecko. If anyone's got any questions, you can sling them. You can sling them down below. Because you ain't got back to you in 2.5 years, Chloe. Oh, have you both been to Doncaster show before? I've never been. I've been to a few. I had my own table. I think it was September 2019. Brilliant. I recommend it to everybody. If you love reptiles, you're going to have a field day. I mean, there's table after table. There's even another floor upstairs. There's loads and loads, literally loads and loads of animals. It's just heaven. I can't say anymore. It's heaven. You get to meet everybody as well. I felt like when I got into the hobby, after going to the Doncaster show, that's when people started opening up to me. It's like putting a page to a face kind of thing. That's what we're doing all these lives for as well. But yeah, no, I recommend it. Have you ever been to one before, Scott?
No, honestly, I've never been to a reptile show, which is pretty sad. But I'm hoping to go this year. But like I said to you earlier, it's the day after a festival. So if I go to that, it's going to be pretty sketchy getting there in the morning after. If I don't go to this one, I'll definitely go to one of the next ones. One of them off work, whatever.
There's also I don't know where you're located, Hannah. There's also one in Guildford, that's down south near me. I'll also be going to that one. I'll have a table with CNN reptiles, and I think tribal reptiles is just going to be with us at the time. So yeah, no, it's good things. I think there's a few shows opening up. While we're talking about it, I spoke to Scott about it. For everyone watching this or listening, or even on YouTube, so I've got an idea. People might think it's a bad idea, people might think it's a good idea. I like to hear everyone's feedback from me. We can talk after and whatnot. And I spoke to Scott. Scott thinks it's a great idea. So I actually originally got this idea from, I said idea a lot, haven't I? Originally got this idea from America. And basically what they've done is they almost done like an online show. I know there's been a few people that have tried to do it in the past by doing a website, and there was somebody trying to do it when we had a lockdown, and it just didn't go too well. But I'm thinking of having like 15, 20 people. Everyone gets a 10-minute slot on a live. There will be no talking. There will be no showing your face. It will just be a table with your geckos in like your transportation tubs or deli cups, whatever, with the morphs in it, like you would see at a show, and then you can showcase your animals for 10 minutes, and then it'll pass on to the next person. And if someone wants to buy a gecko off of you, they'll have to PM you, so there's no worries about payments or anything. Something I'm thinking of doing, do a live like every 3-4 months. We'll get 15-20 people on, all show our animals off to everybody, almost have like an online show, but just for leopard geckos, cresties, and similar things like that. Nothing too serious. So, yeah, I was talking to Scott the other day about it, and he was like, "Hey, you're onto something there."
Yeah, definitely, man. And like I say, like back in the day when I first started, especially people that are just getting into it, they might not want to go to the shows. You know, up until last year, you can get everything online or on pictures and whatnot. You don't necessarily need to go to the shows. But it's nice to be involved in that, and it gets you to see things that you wouldn't otherwise be looking for. And you might see something and go, "Oh, actually," you look into it and you think, "Yeah, I want to work with that." So I think it's a good idea. I do.
Yeah, like you said, not every. When I used to do the courier, a lot of people don't drive. It's only until I started doing my courier and I started going to people. A lot of people don't drive. So I'm thinking of I'm going to have to get a few of us. I'm just thinking every 3 months after Donny and stuff. There's so many people that can't get to these shows. Have a live, organise a live. Everyone gets a 10-minute slot. Have all your geckos in tubs with the genetics on it. No price, so you don't get in trouble. And then everyone gets 10 minutes slot to show off their stuff, and then move on to the next person. Then people can PM you or PM you after the show. I think it would be a good idea. I might get a little poll going. But yeah, like what Neil said, free rack giveaway on the online show, question mark. Yeah, no, exactly. So this is an idea I've got. So everyone watching this is an idea I've got going. If people are down for it, if I get a few people saying yep, then I'll get something organised. But yeah, it won't be before Donny, otherwise no one's gonna do it. But even Ireland, we can get stuff to and from. Even Irish people can get involved. I just think it'd be good for all of us to showcase them, because there's so many breeders out there that haven't got a page. There's so many people that are breeding geckos that we don't even know are breeding. I didn't even know Scott was breeding. He's been breeding probably longer than me. I only found out he's breeding 6 months ago. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah. It's a nice way to show. I think it's a good idea. I do. And like I say, people that are more, the main problem you're going to have is getting it out to people that don't know about it. So it's going to rely on the hobby and us guys like sharing it and telling people about it. Because, say for example, it was me not 6 months ago, but say last year sometime, start of last year, I wouldn't have known that was happening because I wouldn't be speaking to anyone. How do you do that? Because otherwise, all you're going to have is the people that are already in the hobby and already know what people are breeding, already know what people have got, are going to be looking at it. But it'd be nice to bring new people in and showcase it that way. So, having sponsored things or giveaways or something like that, which is going to bring new people into the hobby, would be the ideal situation, really, because that's how it would spread, and I think that's how it would kind of take off a little bit.
What Hannah said, I probably would do. I'll have to have a look a little bit more into it. It probably would be Instagram or maybe even YouTube. I say Instagram because with Instagram, I can literally kick someone off. So all someone would need is literally a phone. Ideally, if everyone can get a ring light, I mean, £10 Amazon, you can make yourself look. If you're looking professional, if you look the part, people are gonna be more interested. But I'm thinking through Instagram, we have it all booked in. People have a 10-minute slot, 15-minute slot, show off their stuff. You haven't got to be talking. It will look like as if you was at a show. Like it's part. You're looking at. It's like me vending at the show, and we're just all watching it on Instagram. I think it would be a really good idea. I know the Americans done it, and it did really well. But like Scott said, it will just be all of us looking at it, so we'll have to share it out and all team up together. I mean, I don't do the courier anymore, so I've got so much spare time, and this is what I love doing. So I don't mind doing stuff, and we get people like Scott, Jay, and to help out, even Dave. I know Neil just said about we'll chuck a free rack in on the online show sort of thing. So yeah, if everyone thinks it's a good idea, we'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, then we can say we tried and don't do it again.
Yeah.
Any more questions, anyone? Go on, Scott. Get that sexy voice going.
I'd be surprised if it didn't work. Because, like I say, going back to the mindset of like a year ago, that would have been great. Because I wouldn't be going to no shows. Why would I have gone to a show? I didn't speak to no one. I didn't know anyone. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Whatever I wanted, I got through just messaging people. So people that are reserved, I think it would just open the door up for them massively. Yeah. And it'll get people talking to people as well. Because ultimately it'll start conversations off. Yeah. I wish that I'd started with people years and years back. Like, I can only imagine where I'd be now if I'd started talking to people I am now, 5 years ago. Yeah. That would be crazy.
That's what I love. I love helping people. My missus would tell you, as soon as I get talking, you won't get me stopping. That's just how I am. I'm a people person, quite sociable. I love helping. When people message, even with silly questions, I love helping. I do get absolutely flooded with messages, so if I don't respond, please don't take it personally. I will get back to you. But yeah, like we said, I think it would be great. Even like when you got 100+ hatchlings and someone says, "Oh, can you show me a photo?" You can say, "I'll tell you what. I'm actually doing a online show on Friday the 20th, let's say, for example. You can see all my stuff there. Mr. G Breeder, I go to bed at 10. He messages me at like 12 o'clock at night. But yeah, no, I think it'd be a good idea. I'll get a little poll going. Yeah, it'll be for like UK, Ireland, Scotland. Then hopefully we can maybe even speak to a courier, get a good rate, and we can all have a load of geckos go at once, sort of thing. But yeah, the future's bright, and I love how everyone's getting involved. Loads of people doing the lives, YouTube. The scene is popping at the moment because of what I always say to Americans. It's different in America and the UK. You're more likely to get the mick ripped out of you for doing something like this in the UK, whereas in America, I don't know. I'm just saying. I think in America they have more of a confidence with this sort of thing. Over here, it's a bit like, oh, I don't want my boys from school seeing this sort of thing. But yeah, I like getting people out of their shells. And look at Scott; he's out of his shell. The tiny little shell it was.
Even yeah, there's still people that I don't talk to now, and if I haven't spoken to anyone, pop up and speak to me, because it's not that I don't want to talk to you. It might just be the fact that I don't know you there. So I'll never not reply to anyone. I don't think there's anyone that I've never replied to be fair. So it might take a while to get some replies, but I'll reply to anyone that wants to talk.
Yeah, definitely say it, and vice versa. He's such a wind-up, Mike. Look at him, hi. Has anyone got any more questions? Did you get any questions, Scott? Anything worth mentioning?
I mean, there was questions that were saying like, how do you get into breeding, and like what to expect, like what things would come as a surprise. Ultimately, nothing can come as a surprise, I don't think, because as long as you're doing your research, you should be prepared for everything. Yeah. But it's not always the case. You might think you got to think you're producing animals. They have so many babies in the wild, so many eggs in the wild, and so many babies in captivity. Not every baby is going to be the healthiest, most liveliest, most screamingest baby in the world. Sometimes you're going to have bad eggs. Sometimes you're going to have bad babies. But it's what you do with that and how you handle it. So if you're having bad babies from a certain pairing, retire them. You know, if you're having bad geckos, bad babies coming out, and it's your own fault, do more research and seek help. So if you're having like metabolic bone disease and stuff like that, you're not sure how to deal with it, which you shouldn't be if you've done your right research. But some babies do hatch out weaker than one another. You know, learn how to deal with things and make sure you've got that community around you that you can ask advice. Other than that, you know, it's making sure that if you do go down the breeding route, you don't just do it for the sake of it. You know, you're not just going to get a male and female heart rate and keep them together. You've got the facilities to look after the babies if you can't sell them. Because, you know, especially like last year, the year before, you know, COVID hit, a lot of shops themselves that people were relying on selling wholesale stopped taking in them because they couldn't sell stuff or the shops were shut in. Everything slowed down, trade slowed right down. Now, if you were just a breeder that had just gone into it and you didn't know what you was doing and you had paired 10 geckos, you know, potentially you're going to have a lot of eggs. If you can't move them on, you've got to be prepared to look after them. You're bringing something into the world, you're responsible for it until, you know, someone else is, basically.
A lot of people don't realise as well is, I mean, a majority of first-time breeders, you'd be lucky to get 6, 8 eggs, but you still need to, in the back of your head, the best thing to do, so let's say you got one female, you're thinking, oh, I should only get 6 eggs. Make sure in the back of your head you think, I'm going to get 12. That way you know you're covered. So you know, I've got enough space here for 12. Oh, she only gave me 6 eggs. Well, at least you know you've got the facilities to, do you know what I mean? Just over. So if you've got 3 females, in the back of your head think, I'm going to have 40 babies. So that way you'll be safe because of, I know a few people, Adam at Isle of Wight Geckos, he's a first time breeder, laid 12, 14 eggs. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, and that's it, you know, unexpected sometimes. I mean, luckily I've got enough space to keep everything that I've got left now, so I could grow all these onto adulthood and pick the best out. But just making sure you've got the space and make sure you've got the money for it as well, because everyone thinks, you know, you're going to make some babies, you're going to get your money, it's all going to be, you know, happy as Larry. It's expensive still, you know, whether it be the cost of setting it up, whether it be the cost of feeding them. It's expensive. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
16 out of my best females this year, first time breeder. So you got 16 eggs out of your one of your first time females. That's crazy. Exactly. Like that one female's almost like 20 eggs. So anyone new to watching this, just keep that in mind. I know it's annoying that you do get a first time breeder and she doesn't lay you 16 eggs. I mean that's quite rare, but just keep that. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Back to the question that was asked on your behalf. What was it? What would you?
So like advice for like first time breeder, getting into breeding,
right.
And what to like expect that would be surprising. Like you wouldn't expect it to crop up.
Okay, I personally wish that when I first started, I want to be straight. When I first started, spending £100 on a gecko was like, that's too expensive. So I didn't really go out and buy quality. And I just wish I started off with, like, for example, Wade. He came to me, he messaged me and Chris. I'm a first time. I like bells. I want to get the best that what I can get in the area. And he went and got the best, and it shows. Because when you do, if you don't have stuff that isn't like you, if they're like normalish looking, you're gonna have a bit longer to move them on. That's what I would say. Surprises cost, 100% cost. I think I spoke to Hannah. Like, she was asking about electricity bill. I said, there's more. There's like electricity. You got vet bills, and you got food, and you got supplements. And obviously, electricity. I know it sounds silly. Water. It all costs. Everything costs. Your time. That's a big thing. I always say, stay small and selective, and then hold back stuff and grow slowly. Anyone starting the hobby,
I'd say as well, like before you build up your reputation, let's say, and start selling on to other breeders, and you've got customers coming to you through like the Instagram channels and whatever other channel you're selling it on. If you're going to get into it, go and speak to like local businesses that will take those animals on if you can't find the buyers for them. So, you know, the local pet shops to me that I've spoken to, and when I first started out, that's where they were going. You know, you don't just think you're going to breed them and people are going to buy them off you because they don't know you. You haven't got a name, you haven't got a page, you've got like six pictures on your Instagram. It's low quality. No one knows who you are. It's not as easy as just going, I'm going to breed these. They're going to sell for this much. They're going to buy them. If you can't do it, make sure you've got a backup plan.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. If you do go and get that many geckos and you can keep them, fine. But just keep in mind, I mean, my first 2-3 seasons, I used to find it difficult moving. Because I had no reputation, and obviously because I got some red stripes, for example, and I couldn't. If I wanted to sell them for 30 quid, they would have gone, but I can't move those on for £30. Just build your name, and like what Mike said, quality, not quantity. There's nothing wrong with people. If you do want to, I want to breed pet leopard geckos. That's not a problem. That I'm not saying that at all. You just if you're going to go and spend £1,000 on leopard get, like let's say you're your first time breeder, you bought a trio of black knights, you're probably going to have a hard time selling them because of you've got Jay and reputation from Dave, Jay, Ferry. Why would I, it's going to sound bad, but why would I buy a £1,200 black knight off of somebody nobody knows when I can get it from the person who's got a good reputation? Yeah, that's just my opinion. Any more questions? Scott? Have you got any other geckos you want to show off? Is there anything you wanted to show? Because I know I cut it off a bit short for Chris Flavel and he had all these geckos on his table.
I'm looking at all these tubs, to be fair, but like I say, some of them are in shed. We've gone over like Super Snows, Universes. A lot of the ones that I've got, unfortunately, because it's towards like the end of the season for me at least.
Robbie, a
lot of what I've got left are just the tangs, and of course they all kind of look the same, so it's hard to show you any differentiation between that. I mean, the only other thing that I've got, which I haven't shown people, are like the Diablos and that, but I'm pretty sure they're all in shed at the moment as well.
Yeah. And DBs and Blizzards are known for being bitey, Scott. So you can say if you want it. We all know they're bitey geckos. Is it a bitey gecko?
I've only ever been bitten once by a gecko.
Was it a white gecko?
Yeah, it was white gecko.
Yeah, see what I mean? It's always white geckos. They bite. White geckos bite. So if someone comes to me and goes, "I want a white gecko," just so you know they bite. I don't say Blizzard bite. Everyone sees. Is that the one you got here, Chloe? It's like literally looks like a little dinosaur. It's like a little circle scar with a jaw mark of a Leo. But if anyone watching this probably thinking, what? At the moment, I've been doing a lot of my lives in my flat. The reason being is that I can't help keep getting the same gecko. I keep getting the same ones out, and I'm going to run out of material. So I try not to be in my reptile room so much anymore. I've got loads of cresties here. I've got cresties, morning geckos. Yeah, I've got those, but not Leos, not Leos.
I just find the morning geckos, because I mean, I had those, and they're so fast. Like, they're incredibly quick. I sold them on in the end, unfortunately, because I don't think I had enough time for them as well as everything else. So they got sold on. It was wicked, awesome to have. What do you think about them?
Oh, I think they're outstanding. I know they're because I used to breed chameleons, and they're like, look, you don't touch it, and I treat them very similarly. Can't even get it out. I treat them the same. They're in a bioactive setup, so all I've got to do is occasionally wipe the glass down, so I haven't got to interact with them at all, because I know if I take that piece of bark out, this whole house is going to be full of mornings. I just find them fascinating. Sometimes I just sit there and just look at them. You can hear them click clack. They reproduce with themselves. They're aggressive eaters. When I throw pinheads in there, pinhead crickets, they go crazy. They lay ridiculous numbers of eggs. They just pop them out. I think I really enjoy them. I think I paid, I think it was £10 per gecko. You can even see them in. You find them up in Doncaster. I think they're like, you see them for £5 each. Yeah, love them, mate. Really enjoy them.
Yeah.
Any other reptiles besides Leos you're interested in keeping in the future? For me, I had a huge number of reptiles. I had chahuas, tokay geckos. I even had some African fat tails. I had dart frogs. Obviously cresties, Leos, ball pythons, garter snakes, corn snakes. I know that everyone's different. I found when I had that many animals, it was hard to keep on top of everything because everything had different needs. Whereas when I go in my leopard gecko room, they all get the same. I spray their moist hides. They all get a bowl of water. Whereas if you've got all these different animals, you need to check on all the humidities and the temperatures rise and drop because I had a bearded dragon, a plated lizard in there as well. I just found personally it just got too hard and something always lacked. Like the tokay's viv might be a little bit too dry or something like that. So now I personally think I'm going to keep it cresties and Leos. I'm actually going to downsize a little bit with the cresties because I went absolutely crazy when I bought cresties. I bought like 20 of them, and they are egg laying machines more so than Leos. So I've got so many eggs. I didn't realise how many eggs I was going to get. So I am going to downsize on the cresties, but I've got enough space for them all. But then I would like to have something like a redfoot tortoise or something like that when I move and have it out. But I think for me, I'll keep it as it is. What about you, Scott?
So, like I said, I said before, I've had quite a lot already. Whether or not I'd go back down to the snake route, I don't know. I kind of prefer having lizards now. There's a blue tongue skink at work, which I think is awesome. It's wicked. But I don't think I've got the space at the moment for a blue tongue. So eventually I'll probably get some of those. I love tegus as well, but they're a lot of work. I know someone just mentioned about tegus, but yeah, they're a lot of work. But they're gorgeous, really, really nice. Once again, you need a lot of space. And it also comes down to the fact that I like going on holiday. I like going away. It comes down to the point before I was breeding and incubating to coincide with when I was away on holiday, so that no one had to check the egg boxes and stuff like that. But you've always got to have people as well to look after the animals.
You keep on.
That's all right, but you've always got to have people to look after the animals if you ever go away on holiday. So that's something to keep in mind. It's all well and good having 20, 30, 40, 50 animals, which is great for when you're at home. When you're not, it becomes quite difficult because obviously you've got to rely on people then to look after it. Luckily, my mum loves them, so she looks after them when I'm away. So that's pretty cool. See, I'm not really into the cresty geckos. What's that? What more for coloration?
This is the lily white. This is my lily white male. He's stunning.
So with cresties, does it work the same as like Leos? Like you've got different morphs, or are they just more so like line bred traits?
Most of them are, if I'm honest with you, mate, I know not much about cresties, if I'm honest with you. This guy's running up the chair. They're more line bred. I know the only genes in cresties is Exantic and lily white, and I think cappuccino. I'm not 100% sure. But the good, what I like about cresties, you don't get so much of you can't pair that to that. Apart from lily to lily, everything you can do whatever you like, sort of thing. I've got a project. I would get him out, but he's in his tube. I've got this lovely red tricolour cresty, and I'm pairing him to a cream, extreme cream. These probably just sound awesome to you, but you're probably like, what? And I want to make some red and creams with those. What I love about the cresties is you don't really find an aggressive one. You do get a male that's a little bit fruity, but you very look at them. You would be you wouldn't want up your nose for a bogey, would you? Let me put him back. Let me get someone else out. Oh, if anyone's got.
No, I was going to say, what do you think about like the gargoyle geckos and that? Because obviously they're quite similar to the cresties. And I mean, I've handled them in the past. Like the gargoyles, for me, I think if I was to go down like that kind of route, I'd probably go down towards them. I mean, have you seen those in the past?
I've seen gargoyles, and I've got some friends that's got gargoyles. I love them. I don't know why. It's just something I've never tried. I know with the chihuahuas, when I had the chihuahuas, they were a little bit more aggressive than your cresties. And I have heard gargoyles are a little bit more aggressive or territorial than cresties. Wacky Exotics would probably explain a little bit more about your New Caledonia reptiles. If I'm honest with you, I'm an amateur with it completely. Some of the stuff I hatch, I have to message Luke and say, well, what is this sort of thing? I'm still learning. I know tricolours are pretty obvious, harlequins, pinstripes, things like that. Yeah, no, just got another. Let me get another one out. But yeah, no, your questions. I'd love to at some point work with dogs, I think.
Yeah. And you said about New Caledonia, that jogged my memory then about the is it the Lychee or Lichinus geckos? Big, massive, big boys. Like I love those. So obviously after I've expanded and done enough research on it, I wouldn't mind getting some of those as well. And the arabonas, those little Mexican alligator lizards, I think they're pretty cool. See, every time I handle cresties, they jump off and they just don't stay still.
It's South London. I think they think, nah, I'm not playing with him. But this one, with cresties, a lot of it comes down to lineage. Like with ours, it's, what's the mum and dad? Can you tell me the genetics behind mum and dad? With cresties, it's more, can you show me what mum and dad look like, sort of thing. This one was produced by Apex Predators. The pairing was White Walker crossed to Arizona. Stunning, but what I've done is rookie error. I bought so much unsexed stuff. They've all dropped cresticles on me. So this one I love the temperament of this one. When I walk past the Viv, it lunges at the door, thinking I'm food. So I am tempted to keep this one, but my proven breeders are crazy. Michael Edge really sorted me out at Gecko Lounge. He was like, I've got a group for you if you want to get into cresties, and the babies have been an absolute fire. I did see something about the Mexican alligator. Is it Mexican alligator lizard? Something about they're thinking of making it a license to own them, because I know a few years ago they were saying to people, breed them, like they're going in danger. Same with Southfin, please breed them in captivity because of their struggling. I don't know whether you knew much about that, Scott.
No, I mean, I know they're a protected species, aren't they, from where they are? I know there's a few breeders, quite a few popular breeders on here, or keepers rather, on Instagram. I don't think they can import them anymore. I could be wrong in thinking that, but of course some of the breeders that I was speaking to from overseas were saying that. But they're expensive as well, and I don't think they breed very well in captivity, which is a shame, unless you get like the conditions perfect. But I don't think there's. I mean, me personally, maybe I haven't researched enough on them or found the right pages, but I can't really find something which would set out in stone what you'd need and how you'd get them to breed and this and that. Because I don't think I'd just have them for the sake of it. If I was having them, I'd have them for a good purpose. That's pretty cool.
When he fires up, he's crazy. Yeah, no, I know Louise at Black Snow Geckos. She had some, I can't even pronounce, I'm just going to say Mexican alligator lizards. She had some of those, and also, what's her name? NYX Exotics. She's a crazy breeder. She had some, but I think one of them passed away. Yeah, stunning animals. They're one of them animals you just look at and appreciate. You'd have it in an awesome setup, wouldn't you? Massive setup, and just watch them. Same with when I was lucky with my couriers because I used to go to people's facilities. I just see how a lot of the stuff I do now is I learned through my courier journeys, going to Michael at Gecko Lounge and seeing his like monkey tails and how he has his rack setups and stuff like that. And I learned a lot of stuff through CNM. Look, just like little tricks. It's like, do you know, like the jeweler's loop? They're quite hard to use to sex, and he's got these like binocular things. It's weird. They like go on your head. They're like sunglasses, but they're like magnifying glasses and like things like that. You know what I mean? And little tips with supplements and stuff like that along the way. But yeah, this is my big guy. This was my main breeder this season. He goes like black normally. I know Wacky's going to appreciate this. What made me want to be a reptile courier? I loved everything reptiles. I loved, and the courier I loved. I did love doing it. It's just, you know, with the hobby, you know what some people can be like. You get complaints over stuff like, why is my gecko in shed? And obviously the anxiety. Just think about having everyone's animal in your possession, and if anything goes wrong, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you had to keep animals over 10 days. Just remember, like, you got that anxiety and you get messages every day. Is my gecko okay? Have you fed it? And little things like that. And I understand why people feel like that. I feel the same when I send something off. But just think about what mentally anxiety that would do to you. Constantly worrying. I go to Jay's. Oh, here's 5 black knights. There's 8 grand's worth of geckos there. Don't make sure nothing happens to them.
A lot of pressure in it. It's
pressure. It's exactly pressure. But bad diet, you know, on the road all the time. I was on my own, 16-hour days. A lot of people were brilliant. I mean, I probably would have stopped the first couple of months, but because a lot of people kept me going. Chloe's mum, oh, what a woman. Open the door, big smile, made your day. Let me put this one back.
That's all right. So, you know, when you was doing the currying and that, were you going home every night? Were you staying in hotels and stuff on your way up?
Sorry, mate, I'm back. I used to... This is where I probably went wrong. I used to go home every day.
Yeah.
I know Steve from Animal Courier, he spoke to a few people and said, like, not slagging me off, like, he did well as he did well for how long he lasted. It's like, I remember one time, it was 8 o'clock. I done my last drop in Penzance. That's all the way down the southwest of the country. It took me 7.5 hours drive to get home, and I'd done the 7.5 hour drive home. And yeah, mate, trust me, it used to make me ill. But then when I used to finish the run, I used to see all the feedback. Everyone saying, "Thank you, George, for my geckos," and brilliant service. And that used to give me the fire to go again. And it came to the point where my girlfriend just went, and my family, you got to stop, like, you're struggling. You know what I mean? What's that you got there, mate? Is that one of Chris's?
One of them. Nah, that's Diablo, that is. Nice. That's a Diablo. That was for Cambridge Geckos. I think this was the second... Yeah, I think this was the second lot of morphs I had from him. Once again, he was another one of the people that I speak... Well, not that I speak to, that I asked for geckos and stuff before I started talking to everyone.
It's a good guy to go to.
Yeah, definitely. Like not all the animals that I had from him, I think I've still got. So that original high white male that I had with the Max nose, that was from him. Alongside like the 2 of the Diablos as well, they were for him. And they've all been healthy, all been perfect. To be fair, I don't think I've had any unhealthy animals from any breeders, which is fantastic.
Right, yeah.
So, what do you do in terms of live food then, George? Because obviously, a lot of people tend to stick like mealworms in there. They tend to stick, you know, Marios and that. What are your main feeders? I know you said you feed your on the one that I picked up from you today, crickets and mealies. Is that all you feed?
No. Majority of my babies I'll feed mainly mealworms, crickets, occasionally locusts, but for some reason not. if you've got a reptile not feeding or not having a good feeding response, I always find crickets. Just that for some reason, they always go for the crickets. With babies, what I've noticed, they can be a bit fussy with locusts. So I feed majority of my babies mealworms, crickets, and nymph dubia roaches. My adults, I don't feed my adults crickets unless I do have a couple of adults that only will eat crickets. But majority of my adults feed mainly on locusts and dubia roaches. Yeah, I do feed the occasional morio, but I don't know everyone else that views this has seen it. I find morios, geckos go on and off of them. I don't know if anyone else does. Mine go one minute, they go crazy through them, and then all of a sudden they're not too interested.
I think out of everything I've got, I think only one does that with the morios. I don't know why, but it does. It goes on and off of it. Generally, though, morios make up quite a big part of the diet. In mine, at least. Mealworms, I don't tend to use crickets, to be fair. Mainly because they make a noise and
they're horrible. They're more nice for parasites. They're smelly. Things with crickets. It's how they're kept. That's where the issues come from. Let's say you buy a sack of 500 of them and you throw them all in a tub and you just leave them, in a week or so, the bottom of that tub's going to be minging. That's what I was saying earlier. The feeders, you got to treat them as pets almost. Like with crickets, if you buy them in bulk, Dave, Chloe, they probably understand. You got to get that food out of there, replace it, or even put dry food in. Maybe have you can buy those like a bug grub mix, but then have the bug gel. There's no like the water gel as their water source. I always find with crickets, they can get really messy really quick. Same with mealworms. If you put too much food in with those mealworms, they will all go gloopy, start dying, they go brown, they smell. I actually find what smells the most is when you get mealworms in a water dish.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's not the nicest smells in the world, is it? But I use
Friday night after a kebab, ain't it?
Yeah. But I use a lot of feeders, to be fair. Like, obviously, I use the grubs. I use the silkworms. I do use waxworms every now and again.
People have a misconception. People have a knowledge with waxworms. People just think, waxworms bad. They are actually quite good, and they do help in some situations. Don't just, I know, like when you see on like the Facebook groups, no, don't feed waxies, don't feed waxies all the time. Give him
and for one, if you've got geckos which aren't eating, don't feed them a waxworm to get them to eat, because 9 times out of 10 they won't eat anything else then. If you've got things that aren't eating, or you've got ones that are addicted to waxworms as well, that's where silkworms are coming quite handy. Not that anyone should ever have a gecko that's addicted to waxworms, but if anyone's watching this and they think, actually, that's all mine eats, and believe it or not, I've spoken to people in the past that's all they feed them. Try silkworms. Medium, small silkworms, roughly around the same kind of size as waxworms. They'll get them off of it. I'll be surprised if that didn't work. And even if it didn't work, for the sake of, I think about £5 for 30 of them, it's worth it. It's worth it, I think. On the side note to that, though, if anyone is watching now that wants to breed like the live food and that, or they're interested in them beetles, after this finishes, within the next hour or so, maybe 2 hours, depends on what I'm feeling like, I'll put up a story. Now, in that story, there'll be a little box to fill in like a code word. If you put chicken nugget and send that to me, and you're the fastest person to do it, you'll win 2 hides, a feeding dish station. So it'll be one of these hides, 2 of them, a little feeding dish station, some stickers, and then if you're from the UK and you do it, I'll send you 20 of the grubs as well. But you've got to be the fastest person to do that.
Can you guys see them?
You know what? Like, just make sure they're kept warm. Like, if anyone wants to do it and they want to go down that, even if you don't win and you want to keep them, just keep them warmish. I'll keep mine on the rack, to be fair, in one of the tubs. Good quality soil. Try not to use cocoa fibre; it's a little bit acidic for them. But good quality soil, or I use the ProRep Forest Life.
What do they feed on, Scott? I was going to ask you, but I thought, you know what? Sorry, I'll ask him on the live.
You should have done your research, George.
Oh, just go!
No, honestly, mate, there's not much that I won't eat. Like they're, I kind of imagine them as a massive cleanup crew. If you chuck leaves in there, they're going to eat leaves. If you chuck, rotting wood in there, not that you should, but if you wanted to, they'll eat that. If you wanted to chuck really high energy foods in there, you could. I think the only things that I haven't noticed that will eat is like high citrusy kind of foods. But fruits, vegetables, dark leafy greens, anything like that you would normally feed to your normal feeders. Anything that you'd feed to those, I'd feed to them. But they grow fast as well. Like that one that I showed you earlier that was about that big. Now we'll keep the beer for us, Chloe. But they'll start off that big within the space of like 2-3 weeks. They're massive. But because they start off so small, you've got the ability then to feed them at whatever size you want to do it.
Yeah. I showed my mum them and she went, "What did he grub?"
That's what they look like. It is.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So with the Morio worms, I've got like a kind of set of pincers on them.
Yeah.
It's the same with those, because obviously the Morio worms and like these, that in the wild and they'd be burrowing into wood and they'd be going underneath things and doing that. So that's what them pincers are used for. If they do pinch you, you'll hurt a little bit, but it's not enough to like break the skin open. No, 9 times out of 10.
Like a red ant bite, I guess.
Yeah, some people do crush the heads on them. I mean, I don't know if you crush the heads of your Morios before you feed. I don't personally.
No.
I don't do it with the grubs either. But I know some people that do. So it's personal preference on that.
Yeah. Any last questions from anybody before we wrap up this episode 7 of Morphtastic Live? Any last questions? Right, Pabs. The dogs came and gone. What time are you calling this? Hey, Pabs, come here. He don't listen. He's got a bad attitude.
What?
Any last questions? It was good seeing you anyway today, Scott.
Mate, it was really, really good.
It was like, "Where's Wally?" weren't it?
Yeah. It's quite a big crowd to find you in. What you got for tea? I got pizza. So yeah, got pizza, mate.
I'm gonna get a kebab. Don't get this. You don't get this big and sexy for sitting down eating lettuce.
Yeah, but I think I've got the same problem.
How's your season
been?
For mine, best season yet for me. Not necessarily had the greatest breeders, but I've managed to pair my red diamond. I've had some great geckos from that. Been a great season for me. Cresty wise, it's gone better than I expected it to be. I never knew. I had cresties before, but this adult group I've had from Mike, they're just throwing them out. But I know they're fully established. So, and yourself, Scott?
Cheers for remembering my name. That's good, that is. But yeah, like it's been a good season. It's been a good season. Unfortunately, I lost a couple of the eggs towards the end, so I was trying to find some of them questions that someone had asked. But
Anna, do you feed the grubs to your gecko?
Yeah.
You take that, Scott.
Yeah, I feed them to the geckos. I chuck them in with the turtles. I chuck them in with the bearded dragons. As with anything, although they're a good feeder, I'd always mix it up. I never really tend to feed the same things more than twice to them without breaking up with something else. Because at the end of the day, they're in captivity. They're just as liable to getting bored as anything else. So in my aspect, it's just another form of enrichment. There's not much you can do for enrichment other than moving the enclosure around, giving them new things to hide in. So different food sources should be like a bit of an enrichment. And what's this kind of thing? Different movements, different tastes, different sizes. But yeah, that anything that eats live food can eat those.
Wacky's put, do you use those beetles as a replacement for dubias? If you mean, I don't think you can feed the actual beetles. I think what you do is you get the beetles. It's the larvae. Is it the larvae you feed off? I have personally bought some of the larvae before in the past. You do get some, like what Scott said, you do get some geckos that take it. I know my beardy loves them, so you know, and it like Scott said, you get all different sizes. It gives them a variety, and almost gives them that natural instinct to like try something different, sort of thing.
That's it. And a side note as well, with them beetles, if you do get overrun with them, you've got other bio setups. So I know you said you've got other bio setups with that. You can put those inside them setups, and that acts as a big part of the cleanup crew, which is pretty cool. Isn't he pretty?
Put him down. So is that everything wrapped up from everybody? Let's have a look, see if it's, make sure I ain't missed any. Stop it, Magic. Making me blush. He'll message me like, oh, no, I meant the dog. Have you used hornworms? I know here in the UK, Scott mentioned it earlier, they're actually an invasive species. Well, they can be an invasive species here, so that's why we've banned them, so you can't have them here at all. It's like there's some states in America you can't have dubia. It's just you're not allowed to have them. It's banned. I would love to. I see the Instagram reels, big green worm, guts and water squirting everywhere. Would love to try them, but we can't use them here.
No.
Fortunately.
Like I say, I imagine like nutrition wise, it would be similar to silkworms. Really, I can't imagine them being much different.
Yeah. Can you hear that bike?
It's not just your stomach rumbling.
No. Yeah. Anyway, I think we'll wrap that here, Scott. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to let anyone know where to find you? Anyone who's viewing this, or people on YouTube that will be viewing this, where to find you?
Yeah, so I have got a YouTube channel, but I don't use it. Whether or not I will in the future, maybe. So look me up on there.
He is. Before you start, anyone watching this who follows Scott, I think Scott should carry on doing the small, real, tip he does. Like, for example, he done the one with the beetles. It's almost like, it almost has that like David Attenborough feel to it. Like, this is silkworms, very highly nutrition. They have an anti, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? I reckon you should keep doing that, because I do think I like viewing them.
Yeah, I think I will. But I mean, really, that's going to be aimed towards like the towards Instagram, and that I'll keep that on the reels.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Instagram, Facebook. I have got Facebook. I do use it occasionally on there, but predominantly Instagram's like the biggest thing that I use. I think in Facebook, I think I've got like 160 odd followers on there, so it's nothing compared to Instagram. But this is what I'm mainly focused on. I love Instagram. It's a really, really nice platform to be on. It's highly unlikely you're ever going to find people that aren't, you know, that are nasty, that have got different views. Everyone's kind of inclusive on it. So Instagram, if you want to get through to me, is probably going to be the best way to reach me.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Scott, and it was really good seeing you earlier again today. Even though I've mentioned that 5 times, I loved seeing his face in this crowd of people. It was like a golden apple. Like, oh. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks again to Scott. Remember, if you've tuned in, Scott mentioned the giveaway. You guys already know what to do. I'm going to be putting a poll out about the online show thing we talked about doing the 10-minute slot for everybody on the live to show off their geckos as an online, not an online store, as an online expo or show, whatever you want to say. So I'll put a poll out for that. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Scott. And do your little winks. That's your trademark now. Hey, take it easy.
Yeah, guys. Cheers.